Hello, I'm Martin Lewis of MoneySavingExpert.com. Today we got the, well, frankly, sickening news that the energy price cap is set to rise a horrendous 80% on the 1st of October, taking a typical energy bill to £3,549 a year. An energy bill, not a mortgage, not rent, £3,549 a year. And I'm afraid it is set to get worse pretty soon. So this is a practical explainer of what's happening, what's likely to happen in future, and I'm going to answer some of the most common questions I've had put to me too. The first thing to say is the price cap only applies in England, Scotland and Wales, not Northern Ireland. It's only for consumer, not business tariffs, and it's for standard tariffs, so not fixes or anything else you've chosen. The standard tariff is the tariff you're on if you've never switched, or if you had a fix that ended and you didn't do anything afterwards, or you're with one of those companies that went bust in the last year and you're automatically moved to a new provider. Now, while it's called a price cap, frankly, that name is a little bit of nonsense. There is no maximum amount that you can pay for gas and electricity. The number used, which is saying that the price cap is going up from £1,971 a year to £3,549 a year, is actually mostly meaningless. It's just an illustration of what the price cap would be for someone who had typical use. In fact, what's actually capped is the standing charge you pay, so that's the daily charge you pay just for having gas and electricity, and the unit rates you pay for each kilowatt hour of energy you use. In this announcement, the standing charges haven't gone up by very much at all, but the gas unit charge has doubled and the electricity unit charge has gone up by around 80%. Now, this is all regional, so I'm just doing averages. If you want your exact standing charge and unit costs, we've got a full list of them on Money Saving Expert, where we've also built and launched today a new calculator which will estimate your exact rise on the 1st of October. Some people it might be 60-70%, some it could be 80-90%, and the calculator will tell you what's likely to happen for you. Now, I should note the prices I'm using are for those on dual fuel, getting gas and electricity, direct debit. There are different price caps for other payment methods. So the price cap for prepayment meters, key or card meters, is going up 79% to £3,608 a year on typical use. For those who pay by receipt of bills, it's also going up by 79% to £3,764 a year. Yeah, you pay more for paying those ways than you do by direct debit. That's what's going to happen right now, the 80% rise. But it is worth noting, while the price cap used to change every 6 months, Ofgem has changed the rules, so now we get a new price cap every 3 months. I put in a submission saying that was anti-consumer and shouldn't happen, but it is doing it anyway. And the current prediction is, I hate saying this, on the 1st of January, we are likely to see the price cap rise again. And this prediction is pretty ballpark because we're 7 months through the 10-month assessment period of setting that. And it's likely to rise again by 51% on top of the 80% in October, which is on top of the 54% in April. And that would take, if that's right, a typical bill, according to Cornwall Insight, to £5,386 a year. Which means over the 6-month period from October until April, it is a 121% rise from where we are now, more than doubling to £4,460 a year. And do remember, the government help that was set back in May was predicting an average £2,800 a year over that period for someone on typical use. Now I'm talking about £4,460 a year. Clearly, those help provisions were not enough, but I've done enough interviews on the telly talking about that political situation. This one is going to be practical. I can't tell you what will happen in April because we're not in the assessment period, so any predictions on that are much rougher. But I think suitable to say, in 2023, I think it is unlikely that we will see energy prices for someone on typical use, I'm using that because it's easy to illustrate than percentages, drop below £4,000 a year. So far, far higher than they are now. For that to happen, we'd need the Russia invasion of Ukraine to end, or a worldwide economic recession, probably. Now, some of you might be on fixes, moving on. Some of you might be on fixes and wondering what's going to happen. Well, you are fixed. As the name says, unless the energy firm went bust, the amount that you pay is fixed for the duration of the fix, or unless you moved house, or unless you broke energy company terms and conditions. Those are the main things that could happen. But of course, you will then face the rise in the price cap when your fix ends. So do make a note of when your fix ends so you can be prepared for that. Many asking me, why is it going up? Well, I mean, we've been long predicting that it's going to go up, and pretty accurately what it will go up. And the reason for that's simple. The price cap is based on an algorithm. That algorithm is published, and the main variable is year ahead wholesale rates, the rates that the gas and electricity companies pay. They are allowed to make 1.9% profit, which isn't too much. Although, of course, if we double the amount that they're charging, well, they'll still make 1.9% profit. That amount, the amount they actually get, could double. But you might be thinking, well, hold on, that doesn't sound so much. That's because it is the retail energy companies that Ofgem regulates, but it's the oil and gas producer companies that are making the excess profits. So the British gas arm of Centrica isn't making that much money. It's the production arm of Centrica, but the only bit that's regulated by Ofgem is the retail arm. And that's why there's this disjoin here. Excess profits are being made, but not by the companies who directly sell to us gas and electricity. So that's my main explanation. Now, let me just try and answer a few of your questions. Warren said, would you recommend trying to secure a fixed deal ahead of the expected January rise? And if so, what would be your ceiling price? Well, we've done the maths again today, and I'm frankly stunned. I mean, it's likely over the next year, you're going to pay 150% more than you do right now. So 2.5 times what you're doing right now, averaged over the next year, if those predictions are right, and there's a lot of crystal ball gazing. So if you could find a fixed deal, and I wouldn't bother going to the open market doing a comparison, it's whether your existing company offers you a fixed deal at less than 2.5 times what you're paying now on the price cap, it may be worth fixing. But I can't promise to be right on hindsight. There's my full Should You Fix article on Money Saving Expert. Christine on Twitter asks, is there any specific advice for people at the end of a fixed deal who are now trying to deal with ridiculous increases in monthly payments? Well, no, you've had the protection of a fix. You're going to come off it and go onto the price cap. So actually, the answer to you is pretty similar to what I said to Warren about whether you should fix again or not. Look at your new price cap amount, compare that to what you're being offered on a fix. And if it's less than around 150% more, 2.5 times more, it may be worth considering a fix if you value security. But we can't be exact on that because it's all about trying to predict the future. Gavin, has Ofgem given any justification for increasing the standard charge again, or hinted if, when it might be lowered? Oh, this is a tricky one. So look, the standing charge went up hugely in April. Too much, in my view. Now, I campaigned to bring it down. I did many energy companies and charities, but Citizens Advice didn't. Citizens Advice said the problem with lowering the standing charge is those vulnerable people, including many with disabilities who have high use, would pay too much more. Now, what should have actually happened is they should have had special protection, and then we lowered the standing charge because a high standing charge is a moral hazard. It means those on low usage trying to cut their bills don't get much benefit from it. That's not good for the environment and it's not good for people's bills. But of course, we haven't had an active government who are there to put in place the help for those vulnerable customers who are high users. So Ofgem's decided to keep the standing charge where it is. Dave, if I'm on 100% green electricity, why is that increased? Well, it may be because the 100% is they just bought some certificates, or it might be because of the fact, bizarrely, that all UK electricity prices are effectively based on the gas wholesale rate or underlined on the gas wholesale rate, even if it's not being generated by gas. And that link needs to be broken. There's a consultation on it, but it's not happened yet. Ronnie, should people on prepayment meters try and put as much money onto their accounts before this price hike, or will it make no difference? It depends on your prepayment meter and which company you're with. My team are working through company by company, and we will be producing a guide on that, I hope, in the next couple of weeks to tell you whether it's worth topping up beforehand to see if you will gain by doing so. And this time we're working with the energy companies to get the information from them. Now, for some people, that'll be the end of the video. Those who have a 10-minute cap, I'll carry on for a few more questions for those on other social media. Joanne, is there any mileage in cancelling direct debit payments and paying when the bill comes in, so as not giving energy companies money regularly and upfront? Now, you will note earlier I said that the price cap for somebody on typical use on direct debit is £3,549 a year, but those who pay in receipt of bills is £3,764 a year, so £200 a year more. And that's the big problem. You pay more per unit rate of gas and electricity if you pay in receipt of bills. However, the direct debit is based on the energy firm's estimate of what you'll use. Now, if it's estimating too high or you don't like it, you will get a short-term cash flow gain from switching to paying in receipt of bills. That's just where they send you a bill and you pay for it each time. So you might pay less money in the short run from it. However, over the longer run, because you're paying more for each unit of energy you use, you will pay more in receipt of bills. Because if you overpay on direct debit, you are entitled to that money back in the long run. I hope that one makes sense. Carl, what happens to people who won't be able to afford the price rise? I don't qualify for government help via benefits due to earnings, but my wages won't cover all the costs if the bills do rise an average of £5,000 next year. I'm shrugging not at you, Carl. I've been warning about this for so long, and we still do not, as I film this, have any plan in place from the government of exactly what it is going to do to help people in the light of these new, much, much higher price caps we're expecting. We know coming in October and is coming in January. So we have to wait on a new Prime Minister to come in, and I just pray, hope, beg, plead that they put provisions in place, or the impact on people's physical health and mental health is horrendous. It's already horrendous on mental health because we should never have had this announcement when there weren't provisions in place. I mean, what can you do? Well, you can cut your usage. I mean, I had to ask my team to write a guide called Heat the Human, Not the Home. It's depressing that we've had to do it. You can go to the help agencies, Citizens Advice, National Energy Action, and others who will look through and see if there's any help available for you. You can call your provider. It may be able to do something. They do have to look at what they can do to help people. We're talking about warm banks being brought in. It's an idea I muted a few months ago and then found out that one council was doing it, and we've encouraged others will be doing it. So there may be places you can go during the day where you're invited to go just to keep warm so you don't have to pay your own energy bills. I mean, we need help. We need government intervention. Hopefully that will come soon. And that seems a pretty typical place to leave it. I hope this has been helpful. I know it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's been a horrible day. I've done countless interviews on this incredibly depressing subject. I am really worried about the pit of financial doom millions of people are facing right now. And I'll finish this by saying, for months I've known this, but today it's crystallized. For those who are on the lowest incomes and those who are the most vulnerable, money saving is not going to fix this problem. Yes, you can cut your usage a little bit, but it won't enable you to pay for these enormous, enormous price hikes. The only way people are going to get through this now on the lowest incomes, including many who work, is with substantially increased help from the government in whatever form.